experts in the field who either work with software, hardware in the industry currently in our state and nationally to give us an update on their service, how this is working, some information we should know for many of us who don't deal with this on a daily basis. I thank you all for making time. I think we will go ahead and hop in for my colleagues and everyone in the work group. The presenters have been instructed to have presentations of about 10 minutes long or so. And then after which we'll do a brief Q&A in between each presentation instead of waiting to the very end, okay? And that's also to give some, allow our presenters, if they need to hop off for another thing, that they can do so. All right, so with that, I believe we will start with Axon. Is that who we had first? Al, correct me if I'm wrong there, who we had first up. Unmute yourself, Al.
Yes, Mr. Brown is representing Axon and evidence.com.
So Roscoe Brown, thank you for making time.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Lewis. I appreciate it. So I didn't put a presentation together because with Axon, as far as a bunch of slides with Axon, we do cover a lot. So I wanted to give a very high level overview of how we approach body worn cameras and public safety, talk a little bit about where we came from, where we're at today. And then really, I would like to have any questions that you have about how our programs are structured. We have many different components to our programs, and really every agency is very unique. So, the solutions that we have are really tailored to what the agency works and their workflows. So it's not like a one size fits all. We really want to find out when we're speaking with agencies what's going to be important to them to make sure we deliver a solution that works within their budget and works within their workflows. So, and first, thank you very much for having me on here today. I do appreciate being able to present to you. If there's any follow-up or any questions, I will send some information to Ms. Johnson, who invited me on here, so that you have some information about our specific products. So Axon, we've been around for over 25 years. We originally started as TASER International, and our mantra at the time was protect life. So with TASERs, we've saved over 250,000 lives by giving officers less lethal ways to subdue suspects. We got into cameras about 10 years ago as a result of us needing to have video evidence to explain the use of force with some of the TASER exposures that we were seeing out in the field. So we'd started with the Axon Pro camera, provided biometrics, a lot of bells and whistles for the user. But because of the voice of the customer, and we have over 7,000 agencies that use our platform, what we heard from them was that a lot of the bells and whistles weren't necessary. And really what they wanted was a camera that lasted a full shift to document use of force. So that really kind of led us to where we are today. We changed the name from TASER International to Axon, and we started developing the Axon ecosystem, with our mantra being to protect the truth and provide transparency into police actions, and to increase the transparency between the community and the police that are policing the community, or the agencies that are policing the community. So with our cameras providing transparency, and speaking of transparency, we are a publicly traded company, so we report all of our earnings and financials to the street quarterly. We do have roadmaps that we put out. We just recently had our Axon Accelerate virtual conference, where we talked about some of the products that we're going to be releasing and some of the partnerships that we've come about over the last few months. And I always recommend that when you're looking at working with a vendor, doing financial risk assessments on any partner, you want to make sure that they're going to be there for you in the long haul. Axon has a focus primarily just on public safety, and those are all the products that we create. So as far as the cameras themselves, right now, we are have the Axon Body 3 in the field. Is our third version of the Axon Body camera. There are 16 different mounts. So depending on where the officer feels comfortable wearing that, on their chest, on their shoulder, on their glasses, we have different options to fit them. It is a fully connected camera. By fully connected, I mean it provides live streaming capability and integrates with our back-end software packages. Any footage that is taken with a body-worn camera and subsequently our fleet in-car camera systems as well goes directly into evidence.com, which is our digital evidence management system. Digital evidence management system is CJIS compliant, Criminal Justice Information System compliant. We use Microsoft Azure as our data centers, and data for agencies is backed up in 3 different locations. So there is redundancy, so they don't have to worry about losing their data. Everything is very secure. Axon ourselves don't have access to an agency's data. So with our fully connected camera, not only does everything integrate with evidence.com, evidence.com is a cloud-based service that allows you to not only manage digital evidence that is garnered from our Axon devices, also you can manage digital evidence that comes from community. So community people that are taking videos, pictures, if there are any closed circuit TV video from an instance, that can be uploaded as well and managed all in one reservoir to help with processing that digital evidence with case management and adjudication. What we find is that in today's digital age, 75% of the time when officers respond to a call, there will be some subsequent digital evidence. There will be an audio file from a question and answer session in the field with the officer. And we want to make sure that we're making it as easy as possible for those officers to be able to then upload that video at a later date and also access it and use it through the adjudication process. So one of the things we've done is we built out our platform. And when I talk about the Axon ecosystem, I talk about evidence.com, our digital management software. We just recently released in the past year, Axon Records and Dispatch. Baltimore is one of the major cities in the US that just recently moved over to our record system. And what that allows them to do is now anything that is generated from that body-worn camera can go directly into the record system, directly from dispatch. So we talk about dispatch of a call to an officer and how that digital evidence management flows through the agency until the adjudication process. We have many different software packages and efficiencies that are built in to make sure that officers aren't spending too much time doing administrative tasks. One of my good friends who's a police officer said, I did not join the police force to become an admin. And he found that when they implemented Axon at their agency, it took a lot of that off their plate by automating tasks that were manually done, such as being able to tag a video automatically without the officer having to go in after their shift and do that, being able to review video and send that along and share that with the district attorney's office in the state of Maryland and across the country. We do provide free evidence.com accounts to the district attorney's offices so that sharing is now something that can be done digitally instead of having to manually burn a disk or burn a thumb drive, put information on thumb drive, and then physically walk it over to the district attorney's office. Now everything can be digitally done and sent via email in the cloud. It is all encrypted information, and it keeps everything in one place and also provides an audit trail so that you know that that evidence is genuine. And anytime it's accessed, that audit trail shows up in evidence.com to show that it has not been in any way tampered with. One of the things we've seen with that in court is a lot of times with discovery process, defense attorneys might say, oh, well, we don't have some of the digital evidence that's been taken. We need the body-worn camera footage. Well, it's been shown that digital evidence with our audit trail has a forensic number on there that holds up in court. And then we can prove that, no, the district attorney has shared all that evidence. Everything is in one place. Here's an audit trail to show that. It really helps to up the conviction rate when we look at a body-worn camera program is implemented into an agency, convictions go up about 15 to 20%. And also with that transparency, we've seen that complaints go down about 75 to 80%. So, one of the things that we've done also is understanding that technology is obsolete once it hits the street. If you think about a cell phone company and every time they have a new flagship product, about every 12 to 18 months is released, some of the features that are updated in that old version aren't available anymore. So one of the things we do is we build into all of our solutions technology refreshes. So at 30 months into an agreement and 60 months into agreement, we will update all of our equipment with the latest and greatest, making sure that agencies that go with us are never obsolete. And then quickly, I want to talk about, I think about 1/3 of the agencies in Maryland use us. We have over 500,000 cameras deployed in the field in the US. And one of the main reasons is because not only the Axon ecosystem, but our signal technology. So when we are developing our products, one of the things that we want to make sure is that officers don't have to stop, take time to think about actually activating their cameras and turning them on. We want everything to be natural in the moment. So our signal technology will work with any Axon camera. So whether that be, I mentioned Baltimore earlier, so you have Baltimore Police Department is responding to a call, and the Baltimore Sheriff's Office is responding to a call. And both of those agencies have Axon cameras. Anytime one of our Axon cameras is activated, it will send out a signal. Any camera within line of sight will then automatically be turned on. That also works in conjunction with the taser. Many of Maryland agencies have tasers. So whenever that taser is drawn and armed, it will send that signal out and it will turn on the cameras automatically. And then also the signal technology can work with our signal sidearm product. And that is whenever a sidearm is taken out of a holster, it will send that signal technology and activate any camera within a range. And that could be one of our fleet cameras, one of the body cameras by the agency, or another agency responding as Axon cameras. And the reason we do that is for two reasons. One, we don't want officers to have to think in the heat of the moment, oh, I have to turn on my camera. And if there is a situation where the signal technology and the officers alone, they don't turn on their camera right away, we do have a way to work with that. But there is a 2-minute buffer that can be set. So anything that happens 2 minutes prior to that, once that officer turns on, that will also be captured on the video. So that, along with some of the software, enables many tasks to be automated. We find that 40 to 50% of an officer's time in the field is done using doing administrative tasks. With the advent of our records and dispatch system, now we're saying that that time can be cut well in half with some of the efficiencies that we have. So I just wanted to open it up to ask any questions that you might have about how we structure our solutions, or any questions about the cameras themselves.
Thank you so much, Roscoe. It looks like our vice chair has a question. Senator Sidnor.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation. I did have one question about contractual agreements. It was a question or a statement that had come up in one of our last meetings about the ability for your clients to end relationships, not your clients specifically, but just clients to end relationships, and the inability or sometimes the difficulty in getting one's data back because of the high bars that are within contractual agreements. Could you talk a little bit about the ability for a client to leave a contract at its termination, and their ability to get their data or get access back to their data?
Sure. So Axon does not own their data. So as far as the contracts, we can do a 1 year. Most of our standard contracts are 5 years, and recently you've seen agencies move to 10-year contracts for budget predictability. But whenever that contract ends, we will work with the agency either by doing a file transfer or working with them to get their data back. Even when we do a trial, 30, 60-day trial, we do not keep that data. So once that contract ends, we will work with them what is the best, most efficient way to get that data back to the agency. One of the things that we also offer is, within our contracts, there is a non-appropriations clause. So you had mentioned like ending a contract early. For any reason, funding is not available for that agency over the length of that contract at any point in time, whether it be 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years in, we will let them out of that. And that's written to our terms and conditions of our master services purchasing agreement, that non-appropriations. But we do not own the data, and we will work with them to get the data back. once that contract is terminated.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions for Mr. Brown? Senator Reedy, anyone? Okay, so generally, how does the pricing work? If you can explain that to me a little bit. Is it based on the size of the force, the type of equipment that you use? I know you said that you try to make sure you're deploying the latest and greatest for folks. So that makes
Sure.
me feel that there's probably not too many different devices out in the field for too long. So how does the pricing work for our departments?
So for a basic program, Mr. Lewis, you would need to have a camera and a license for evidence.com. And that is the minimum that you would need to get started. And the camera itself right now, the Axon Body 3 is $699 list price. We still do have the Axon Body 2, which is shipping, which is went up to $522. And then with the licensing, there are several different types of licensing. At minimum, each officer wearing a camera would need to have a basic evidence.com license, and that is $15 per user per month. And then for any command staff, any supervisors, any records admins that will be handling FOIA requests or managing the data, we recommend a professional level license, and that is $39 per user per month. And then there is an unlimited license, and the unlimited license has that technology refresh that is built into that, and unlimited Axon data. So with the basic and pro license, the basic license, you'll get 10 gigabytes of data, and that is pooled over the officers. So if you have 100 officers, that's 1 terabyte per year. With the professional licenses, that goes up to 30 gigabytes of data per user. And then with the unlimited, obviously it's unlimited. And what we've seen is most agencies will look at an unlimited package simply because they don't want to have to worry about metering data and worrying about going back to the well. But that is, we do have ways to work with agencies and put formulas together to estimate, okay, you have X amount of officers that are going to be in the field at any given time. This is the estimated amount of data that we see you're going to use based on the resolution that you record in and the average retention time that video stays in the cloud. And then above and beyond that, we have other solutions that include some of the software that we talked about. And I talked about like the Axon Records and the dispatch, and that is usually done on a per user per month basis, ranging from $15 per user per month up to $25. And then we do have a bundle that's all inclusive that would give you significant savings over doing that by piecemealing that together. So if you had any questions specifically about anything that you see on our website or any products or anything comes up after this, please reach out to me and I can give you a full price list on that. But it's about 30 or 40 items right there.
So if I try to follow, those are a lot of numbers.
I know, and I apologize.
I appreciate you. I'm a numbers guy though. So it's $600 per camera. Did you say it was
$699?
$699. Sorry.
Yes.
Per camera. And you said $522. Was that to ship each camera? What was that?
That was the Axon Body 2. So we have 2 cameras primarily in the field, the
Got
Axon
it.
Body 2 and the Axon
So
Body 3
was $699.
and the Body 2 was
522
$522. Correct. And then I
Okay.
talked about the technology refreshes, and that's called our TASER Assurance Plan. That is not that will give you a 5-year warranty to extend the out-of-the-box 1-year warranty, and that runs about $335 per camera per year. So some agencies will decide to go with that. Some agencies won't. It really depends on, what their budget looks like and what they want to make work at the time of contract.
So I know you said that for licensing, each officer it's about $50 per officer per month, right?
15 for the basic, 15. I apologize.
Sorry, 15.
Yes.
Per month. And it was 39 for the admin person who's like
For the professional level license. So you would want to have that for command staff so that they have the ability to see and manage any videos for any one of the officers that rolls up to them.
Do some departments, particularly I'm imagine our smaller departments, you think about a force of 10 officers or less, like do they have a situation where, let's say they have the cameras for everyone, but the officers don't have licensing. It's just the one admin person who does it for the remainder of them? Or if
So
they have a camera, do they have to have a license too? Is that how it works?
they have to have a minimum of a basic license, because what that does is it gives them an instance of evidence.com. So any footage that comes from that officer's camera, I always go like this because that's where most guys wear their camera, where that camera goes directly into their evidence.com account. So for, say, a 10-person agency, they would have, probably 15 basic licenses for every camera wearer, and then one professional license for the chief or admin, whoever's going to be handling most of that digital footage. And then also this year we released a viewer license, and a viewer license is $5 per user per month, and it just gives the ability to view the license. So that is, if there's anybody in the agency that's going to be just looking at incidents, that just wants to view the data, not manipulate it, not use it, not share it at all, but just be able to look at the digital evidence that's created after an incident, then there's that $5 per month. But that's not for a camera carrying.
One of our members, one of our work group members had this question. It says, they're wondering what is the maximum resolution of the camera based on incorporating, I guess, a sensor, and what's the typical resolution used for capturing data? We're wondering how clear is it real time? And all
So it can go up to high-def 1080p. What we recommend is 720p, and that's because the human eye can't see greater than 720p. The last thing we want is to have a crystal clear video shown in court showing that, that high-def crystal clear, when an officer can't necessarily see that, and we don't want them to be judged by things that they can't see in the heat of the moment. So most agencies will default to the 720p.
That draws a follow-up. So what is the line of vision for the camera? Is it almost
143
restricted?
degrees.
143 degrees.
Yes.
Which is what we anticipate the human eye would see, as opposed to.
Correct.
Okay. Sheriff Mullendor, do you agree? You look like you shook your head a little bit. Can you unmute yourself for a quick second? You're muted at the moment, Sheriff. There you go.
Yeah, my understanding is the human eye cannot see 140 degrees. So I would question that.
Okay, and I will double check. I don't know that off the top of my head, Sheriff. I can tell you that is what the degree of the camera is.
Okay. So I know you said that often across DAs can have access to the cameras through their own, I guess, form of licensing. Is that also extended to Office of Public Defenders or defense attorneys who may have, like, do they have an option to have licenses to see as it relates to your case? Because I know you were saying a second ago that you all can show in court that all the data footage is in one place, but I don't know, did you clearly answer that everyone who needs to have access to that can access it in that one place?
So we have a prosecutor team that provides free licenses to prosecutors' offices. If a defense attorney needs to have that, they can requisition the prosecutor or the agency, and they could be sent a link out of evidence.com to see that digital footage, but we don't give them their own instances of evidence.com like we do for the prosecutors.
So you have to ask the prosecutor's office to see the footage.
Correct, under normal discovery. Or a Freedom of Information Act request can be made by the public, and then that can be shared with an individual as well.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Sheriff.
I just looked it up, and it's actually 120 degrees. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate that. That's educating me. I appreciate that. But our cameras do see the 143.
Is there a best practice for FOIA requests as it relates to your software and hardware?
Mr. Lutz, what do you mean by best practice?
So Mike, do you want to hop on, unmute yourself to explain your question a little bit? Mike Leahy. One of our work group members just.
There we go. I got it. Thank
There you
you, Chaz.
No problem.
I'm sure you have seen this, and as former city attorney, I was often approached by members of the public that were interested in what I'll call sensational um, scenes or evidence. And although the courts at times will not allow evidence to be dispersed prior to jury selection and things of that sort, typically most municipalities and I believe counties are in the practice of allowing the public access to any data that is considered public data. So my question really goes to you folks having dealt with this. How do your current clients presume whether or not they're going to argue something is not public data? And secondarily, if indeed it is, how does the system deal with providing access for members of the general public, and how long does that access remain available? Because obviously, if the license retains data for a particular period of time, I can't imagine the FOIA request being operational after that period has normally told.
So that's going to vary state to state and by local laws. Generally, what will happen is an agency will have a records clerk or an administrator that handles the FOIA requests. And when they do send them out, there can be a time for that link to be available. So they would go into evidence.com, they would then share that video, and there is the ability to redact any audio or personal information, blur faces, redact screens, phone numbers, or anything like that as part of the software. And then they can send that link out and share it for a term of 5 days, 15 days, or 30 days, and it is deleted after that. So you're not actually giving access to evidence.com to the public, but that video is going where they can just view the video online outside of your evidence.com account. And the length of that is determined generally by the agency and the rules that they have set up.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you kindly. So I think it's probably a good time for us to transition to our next presenter. Mr. Brown, do you have
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
might I ask one last question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Brown here, you had made mention about your technological capabilities, and I was just wondering, given your share of the market here in the state of Maryland, with some of those software updates, I've read articles about how some law enforcement agencies were transitioning to body cameras that had software so that they could use facial recognition software. Is that something that your company provides? And if so, could you talk about that a little bit?
At this point in time, we do not have facial recognition. We do have a ethics committee that voted that down last year. And the reason being is that right at this point in time, facial recognition does not adequately identify women and minorities. So because of that reason, we have not built that into any of our cameras. If moving forward, that gets more accurate and is something that our ethics committee feels will not be unadvantageous to certain members of the community, that's something that we will revisit. We have decided at this point not to put facial recognition in our cameras because of that.
Is that something that's out on the public record, this ethics committee's minutes or anything?
Yes, there was a press release about it when it came out that is on the news section of our website.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Mr. Brown, really appreciate it. We thank you for your time. I think some members might have follow-up questions that we'll email you offline, but that was very insightful.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the ability to speak with you, and anything that comes up, feel free to reach out to me, or feel free to schedule some time if someone wants to speak offline.
I think now we're going to transition to utility, body worn utility with Jason Demkowski. Is that correct? Hopefully.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem. And Mark Wood, are you with him there?
I am. Good to be with you all.
Thank you for making time. Tell us a little bit about utility.
Jason, go ahead. Thank you. Utility, body worn by utility is our body camera product. A quick introduction of myself real quick. I'm a retired chief of police from West Lafayette, Indiana, home to Purdue University. Had the dubious honor of being the first body camera agency to deploy in our state in about 2012. And along the way, I've learned a lot of lessons and became a Department of Justice body worn camera subject matter expert. And while I was chief, I also pursued a degree at Purdue University, a master's degree in technology, where my thesis project was body cameras. So I've tested a lot of different ones and landed on body worn by utility eventually for our city. Now I'll go into that presentation or really those marks here real quick. I want to introduce Mark Wood as well. He's a retired police officer from Indiana as well. Mark.
Yeah, my name is Mark Wood. I'm the National Sales Director for Utility. Spent 33 years in law enforcement, retired from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, where I was the Chief Executive Officer. Had the opportunity to test all the major products on the market and put together an evaluation process for Indianapolis Metro PD. That's how I became acquainted with this company. Jason's going to tell you a little bit more about it. I'm very passionate about this product for a lot of reasons why Jason's going to talk to you. So that's a little bit about me. Jason, go ahead.
Thank you. So I was chief for 11 years in West Lafayette and learned a lot of lessons along the way. And one that really drew my attention to body worn by utility was the uniform integration. The only company that allows for the body camera to be integrated into the uniform where it doesn't hang on the outside and can't be dislodged or knocked off. It's a patented solution, and one that I lived the pain points when a different solution of body camera was constantly falling off. I think we've seen that in the news, certainly some very high profile incidents, even the one recently in Atlanta, Georgia, where body cameras fall off of the officers within the first few seconds of a struggle. And it's one that has plagued the industry, and really a solution that drew me to this company when I was a chief of police. Additionally, the problems in the industry that I saw along the way consistently were not having the video when you're supposed to have the video. Many a times I get a call from the mayor's office. Hey, I saw something on the news. I know I want to see that in my office later today, chief. If you give me that video. And oftentimes I would say, mayor or city council people, we don't have that video because the officer didn't turn it on in the middle of an incident. Fast forward to the technology that utility provides. We specialize in turning the body camera on automatically. We have several triggers that are unique to us. And our slogan, our motto often that we like to say is we never ask the officer to do something that technology can do for them. Some of our unique features, when an officer is dispatched for a call for service, the body camera is turned on from the cloud automatically as they're en route to the call. And that really takes the onus off of the officer having to turn that body camera on when they arrive on scene, maybe during an incident where things have escalated and they have forgotten to push that button. Some other automatic features that we specialize in that are unique to body worn only are the officer down feature. It was one of the major features that I chose when I purchased this system for us. We have a smart device, it's GPS, and when an officer goes down in the field, it alerts dispatch to go down and every other officer working, and it has a turn-by-turn ability on a mapping system to get officers to that officer's location immediately. So it turns on the body camera when the officer goes down, and it also alerts everybody that we have an officer down. The holster sensor, also one that we've had in deployment for about a year and a half now as a company. Very popular feature with our customers, because when the when the weapons come out, when the officer's weapon comes out of that holster, you have to have that. That feature to me is one that is absolutely necessary in today's body camera market. Other automatic features for us include foot pursuit activation. If an officer goes in foot pursuit, we turn the body camera on. Smart
Sorry,
device.
Jason. Can someone mute? Thank you.
Okay.
There we go. My apologies.
And one of the other unique features to us, besides turning the body camera on, because we operate a smart device, we can instantaneously offload video from the field to the cloud. We don't require a docking station. We go live from the field to the cloud, and that allows for immediate viewing of the video in real time. So a commander can sit in their office and watch a body camera from the field during a riot, during a call for service, and make operational and situational awareness decisions based on real-time information. Again, specializing in turning the camera on automatically, then also offloading that video instantaneously for availability for command staff and for decision makers and stakeholders. Because we are a smart device, it's doing a lot of data dump instantaneously. A sergeant at roll call can start a shift and monitor the body or the battery life of every device of an officer real time. You see their battery life and adjust accordingly if maybe somebody didn't charge their body camera appropriately. One part of our structure, with a lot of input from people like myself that have used this and the evolution of body cameras along the way, and the pricing of them, and the storage, is that we make it simplistic to purchase body cameras from our company. And then we have an unlimited data, only one option. You buy our system, and it's unlimited storage of data in the cloud. And we also have no user fees. So I heard, we hear this often, that how much is it going to cost per officer or for the DA to access our system? Ours is, you tell us, it's unlimited. Wherever you want to access the system, that one fee includes full access and full unlimited data storage. I heard the sheriff earlier ask about some specs when it comes to the angle of the camera, and that was really important to me when I was chief of police, because you don't ever want to record something that the officer didn't experience. And we all know the FBI has done many studies that show when things go bad, there's a tunnel vision effect, and officers generally can't see past about 90 degrees, literally tunnel vision. So we have that option. Our standard body camera lens is a 90-degree angle. We also offer a 120, which mimics the human experience. That those two different options, of course, is for a customer to decide which ones that they want. We offer both of those lenses, and they're interchangeable really instantaneously in the field. And lastly, I think, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time here and allow for questions. Those automatic activated triggers, policy-based recording that we focus on, you tell us your policy, we turn on the body camera according to your policy of which you want your officers to record, has earned us the endorsement of the NAACP, National Board of Directors. Our system is the only system that is endorsed by that grassroots civil rights organization that certainly has paid a lot of attention to these features that take away the officer's responsibility. You have to know when to record, and also takes away that implicit bias of maybe not recording. And I'm very proud to announce that that endorsement because it speaks to all the features that we've really focused on in making sure that we have the video when the video is needed by the community. I'll open it up to questions now.
Thank you, Jason and Mark. Any questions from the group?
I'll ask a question if it's all right.
Listen.
sort of the same concept of pricing and how that breaks down for the folks that you serve?
Mark, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the pricing we just described is for everyone. You know, if I can just reach back into my experience with the executive team at the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, one of the things I noticed about a lot of vendors is that they have all these different tiered pricing based upon the size of your agency. So in other words, the appearance to me was smaller agencies get penalized while larger agencies get rewarded just simply because they're a larger agency. That never really set well with me. So when I started with the company back in 2016, they really sought my input coming from law enforcement. We changed our model. And our model is our pricing is our pricing. We know what we need to do to make a profit and to be profitable in this business. Everybody gets to take advantage of that price. So as Jason spoke to a minute ago, we're completely unlimited. It's very simple. I'll give you an explanation. We get the comment repeatedly from customers. Oh my gosh, this is so simple to understand. Your quote and your price, it's 2 pages. Yes, sir, it's 2 pages, as opposed to 20 or 30 pages from someone else. And the reason why is it's unlimited for everybody. The pricing is the same for everybody. And when I say unlimited, it's truly unlimited storage, it's unlimited usage. We don't charge user licenses for anything. We don't have an a la carte menu. You get everything. There's nothing that an agency doesn't get when they sign up for us. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and there's no maximum in the sense that you're not going to. You're pretty unlimited in the ability to add. Okay.
That's correct. There's no cap. There's no limit. There's no tiered pricing. It just is unlimited. Not one of our customers will ever say to you that they got a bill from us because they reached a certain cap on storage. That just doesn't happen.
Okay. Thank you.
Senator Sindor.
Thank you. And gentlemen, thank you all for your information as well. I would like to ask the same questions of you that I asked Mr. Brown earlier, one being contractual provisions regarding the ability for your clients to later to leave your company. Are there provisions within your contract that make it difficult that once they've created a business relationship with you to then later remove themselves from that relationship, number one? And number two, does your product have those capabilities with regards to facial recognition software?
Very good question. So let's start with the facial recognition piece. We actually can do facial recognition. That's not an issue. We've actually tested it and worked with that. But we have also chosen not to actually deploy it and to use it until really some privacy concerns and some consensus is built around the use of that. So we're waiting to see where that goes, because we certainly don't want to step into waters that are going to be a problem for us or our customers, quite honestly, or for the community, right? So we're kind of stepping back from that just a bit. And I'm sorry, your first question again?
Leaving.
Yeah, leaving the company. So
yes,
one of the mantras we have in this company that is so, I think, important, and one of the things that drew me to this company from an integrity standpoint is we always say the hallmark of a company is not how easy it is to get into a contract, but how easy is it to get out. If a company makes it difficult to get out of a contract, I think that says something about the company. We don't do that. You literally have an option. Both sides have the option to get out of a contract at will at any time that you want to. The second thing is the data is yours. It's not ours. So we have contractual language in every one of our contracts that says the data is yours. If you choose to exit with us, whether it's at the end of a contract or before, we will provide you your data in a non-proprietary format that works for you at no cost. That's never happened to us yet, but that is in every one of our contracts. It is there. We stand by that. Again, the hallmark of a company, I totally agree with this, is how easy do they make it to get out of a contract as opposed to get in? I think that's a big question. It was for me when I was a customer.
So I have a couple questions. Thank you for that. So I know how, I guess generally speaking in the country, how many departments use your software currently?
It's over 200 now that we have across the country. We're a much younger company than some of the others, obviously. Our market share is not quite to the point that some others are. However, we have been very, very successful in the medium to larger market, and now we're actually breaking into the larger market, much larger market, with the win of St. Louis. The city of St. Louis just signed a contract with us. Indianapolis is a customer. St. Louis County is a customer. So we are really taking off in terms of market share and the number of agencies, but we certainly exceed 200 now.
And let me ask you too. So I know we kind of had this conversation a little bit with Vaccine. The ability for whether it's officers or DA or whoever to come back and redact information. Like, do you all have that? I know that people can live stream it straight to the cloud and it's there for folks, but can you talk a little bit on the back end about, like, functionally, something happens, folks want to release this information both to the press. We know that, the staffing costs on the police department side of having people go back and do that can be a little expensive for us. So does your software help people in the cleaning up process or whatever?
An excellent question, and I have to admit that's one of the areas we just excel in. Yes, the answer is yes. So we have our backend solution is called Avail Web. Avail Web is the video management capability that has all of our redaction and sharing capability built into it. So it's very simple to redact a video on the fly very, very quickly. It's automated, fully automated, and I'll give you an example. You're talking about staffing levels. There's a certain agency that I won't mention unless you want to talk to me offline. I'd be happy to tell you. But there's a certain agency that has had to hire 10 officers, or civilians rather, to do redaction capabilities. We have another agency that's almost the exact same size, demographics, everything else, and they haven't hired anybody. The reason why is our data sharing and our redaction capability is so simple and so quick. All of our redaction is done in the cloud. So when you start a redaction process, it goes to the cloud to be processed, and then you can start another one and another one, and another one back to back, and none of that slows it down. So redaction is done very, very quickly. Our research has shown that the typical hour-long video with 2 or 3 faces that need to be redacted is done in about 7 to 10 minutes. So it's very, very quick. We also share our video data electronically. So we eliminate the need for DVDs, all those kind of things. And we can share with anyone. You can share with anyone you choose or any organization you choose. I heard the question a few minutes ago about the defense attorneys and so forth. So you can actually give anyone at the defense attorney's office or the public defender's office or even the news media access to the system and define exactly what they can do within that system. And we charge for that. That's up to you. As far as we're concerned, you're in control of how this works, and you can let as many organizations or people use the system and limit them on what they can do.
I had 2 more before we transition. If other work group members have a question, let me know. One of which I meant to ask Mr. Brown, but I'll just message him offline about it as well. The first one is, do you all get involved when, I guess the best way to frame it is like the police departments are going through they're negotiating their contracts at all? Are you all involved with that? I imagine that influences the policy directives, as you all were saying, for the footage. And my other question that I meant to ask Mr. Bartlett was, I had to ask this because constituents have asked. Do you all run any type of algorithms like that to pull data that could be used to profit off the information of the people on there?
Those are 2 excellent questions. The last question first, the answer is no. We do not. Okay. The data is yours. And in fact, we do not even have access to your data without you giving us permission and giving us a password to go in and do something with your data. Occasionally, an agency will ask us for that for our assistance from a technical standpoint, but you have to give us permission to do it. So The answer is no. We're not Google, gleaning all this information off of you and profiting. The answer is no. In terms of contracts with unions, that was a very good question as well. We get brought into union discussions quite often, typically by the union. They want to know about our product. And I will tell you that more than one occasion, I've said in front of unions that are very reluctant to wear body cameras or reluctant to a particular vendor or whatever the case may be. And when they hear about our solution and how it works and how they're not going to be blamed for the body camera failing to be turned on, and they're going to be, know where they are if they go down in the line of duty, they love that solution and they tend to promote it and enjoy that and work with us. But the answer to your question is we get brought into the discussion on policy all the time. As Jason mentioned, we consider ourselves a policy-based recording company. It's because we have so many abilities to actually reflect your written policy in a technical way that we are very much involved. Indianapolis, St. Louis are prime examples of where they had to develop a brand new policy, and we've been instrumental in helping them develop their policy based upon our functionality and our technology to help actually enforce their policy.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Members, anyone else has a question for Jason and Mark? Seeing none, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you.
Thank you for your time today.
It's been a pleasure.
With that, last but certainly not least, we're going to get briefed by Motorola. Mitchell Novak. See here,
yep.
Richard. There you go.
I'm here. Good afternoon. Mitch Nowak here, sales manager for the state of Maryland. We appreciate the opportunity, the importance of this task force. We understand we have had the honor to be engaged in a few other task force and subcommittees within Maryland. And our goal is to help you with the value we can bring and the knowledge we have to meet your goals. Okay. Another thing just to bring up, we did also have the opportunity to work with the National Police Foundation, where they held a study and a review and then a symposium specific about body cameras that was national. And this was last year over in Crystal City. Two key things that really stood out when I was there was one, goals of agencies clearly need to be identified. What are you trying to achieve by putting together a body camera program? Number two, create a robust methodology to measure the success to achieve those goals sought after. Okay. A little bit about Motorola. Everybody knows us, we're the radio guys. We keep fire, police safe, keep that communication going. Well, over the last 6 years, I'd say now 6.5 years, we've evolved as a company and really brought software into our offerings. So how 911 calls get routed, we're part of the governor's 911 task force. We're on the subcommittee for the numbers board, technical committee, things like that. 911 is part of our role now. So how you route a 911 call, to how that officer, first responder is dispatched, to how situational awareness evolves, how you store that data, how you share video, and how you manage and automate reports. To understand data, to make yourselves more efficient and keep your community safer is what we do. Our solutions come together through integration seamlessly with automation. I'm going to turn the presentation over to Tom. Tom Trella is our senior account manager for body cams, and he'll walk us through, we put together a slideshow. He'll walk us through that presentation. Thanks again for the opportunity, and we look forward to answering some questions and sharing some information with you.
Hey, thanks, Mitch. It looks like right now the slides are disabled. Is that your guys' way of telling us we're not allowed to do a slide? Nobody likes slides, right? So
Jordan, let them share the screen.
I'm on it. Give me a second.
So while we're pulling those up, a couple other things that stood out from that symposium was, truly understand everything going into a body camera program. You have a device, you have storage, but what other costs do you have that might be unknown, right? That training, that setup time, Is there a cost to retrieve that data that's stored up in a cloud? Once you want that back. So there's a lot more to it than just a camera device and that storage fee. All right, go ahead, Tom.
Hey, thanks, Mitch. So as Mitch said, my name is Tom Latrella, the Senior Account Manager here in Maryland. Started about 20 years ago in the industry as an installer. I worked my way up the ladder on the technical side, and then just recently came over to the account manager side. So I've been in this industry, my whole life here. And we'll jump right in here. I know time is limited. Let me, I gotta minimize that there. Thank you. So we're going to jump right in and talk about V300 body camera here. This is our newest body camera. WatchGuard was acquired in 2019 wholly by Motorola Solutions. I know Mitch didn't mention that there, but WatchGuard was founded in 2005 with our first product, and we're just now really seeing some of these integrations with Motorola. So you're going to continue to see some of those. Some of the things we talk about on here are roadmap items that are in very short order going to come to fruition and be real. But one of the things that's not on a roadmap and is indeed in our new V300, and y'all I think can actually see me in the little screen too as well, right? I believe y'all can see me.
Yes, we can see your screen. Yeah.
Okay, and you can see me as well, I believe, right? There's a reason I'm asking. So we're gonna, V300 here as a infield swappable battery. Well, the Achilles heel of body cameras has been the battery life. So not only do we give you a battery that can last 12 hours, we're going to give you a battery that lasts 12 hours and can be swapped out. So I'm wearing one of our V300s, and it here just has a removable battery. And officers in the field, should they need to go beyond 12 hours, can swap a new battery on, power this camera up, and go back about their day. I won't read through every one of these slides, so as I'll put everybody to sleep, but we'll talk about some of the key things here. It is a waterproof camera. It is, mil spec, built robust. It is designed, knowing what happens with police and how they use this camera. We talk about an electronic turret. Well, what does that mean? Well, officers come in all shapes and sizes. So if you look at me from the side here, if I'm standing up, this camera is pointed slightly at the sky based on where it's positioned on my body. But with an electronic turret, we can actually keep this view pointing forward instead of looking up at the sky. So we do things like that internally, electronically. I believe you all can see that here, right?
Mm.
Dual microphone technology, now being part of Motorola, Motorola's gotten very good at making audio sound good into their radios. And so we've captured some of their magic technology and put it into our body camera. We are CJIS compliant. That seems to be a theme here among other vendors. So that's not a surprise. Record after the fact. That is going to be a slide in and of itself here. And we'll talk about that here shortly. So we'll come back to that. GPS mapping technology is going to allow during a recorded event, a breadcrumb trail to be, laid out within mapping technology. So you can see where an officer was standing when an incident started all the way through to when he actually stopped the recording. And then this camera has the functionality within itself to completely be managed by the officer as far as categorization, meaning the officer doesn't have to go back to the station or log into any smart device or phone. He can simply on the camera categorize the event right after the recording, which makes it easier for everybody to find later. So we do, things like that right on the camera. Just a few.
Is that space at the top, Tom?
I'm sorry?
Is that space on the top they can see that at?
Yeah, you'll see here in the top left corner of the image there's a little button. And that button will allow categorization. And then along the top there, you'll see there's an actual screen on this camera. So this camera here actually has an LCD screen on it that's going to give the officer some information. Things like battery life, how many recordings are on it, things like that. Give them more information on the camera itself. And so, that really we talk about the camera itself and all of the things it can do as it's in and of itself. We don't need to be tied to another device. And so we'll go through these here. I know this is a body camera task force, but all of these in-car cameras and motorcycle cameras and interview room systems really do work hand in hand. These are all tools that officers use. And so all of our equipment, all of our systems integrate with one another. If a customer has body cameras and then decides they're going to add in-car systems later, this body camera integrates with an in-car solution, and vice versa. Some departments will start with dash cameras and then come to a point now where they say, you know, it's time to add body cameras to our fleet. We simply add a component to the car, and now the car system that the officers are already trained on will activate the body camera. And we link all of those together. We'll actually talk about that here a little bit later in another slide, but all designed to work together. All that makes everything easier to find after the fact, less work for the officer to do. You know, it was mentioned earlier that, you know, a lot of these times officers are spending half their time in the street and half their time doing admin stuff. So we want to keep them on the street as well. And now we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. Uncomfortable topic, you know, given everything that's going on, but what's an acceptable number of missed events? Things happen in the field. Cameras don't get triggered for whatever reason. We don't get into why that happens, but it happens. You know, there are lots of triggers, as we've talked about on this, ways to trigger the camera, but sometimes none of those will trigger a camera. And what do we do in that event? You know, how do we give video? You know, customers have called record after the fact, which is our patented feature. I've heard people call it a time machine. We've had people, you know, mention, you know, it literally being a pension saver to go back and grab that video. Sometimes a trigger is not enough. This is the ultimate trigger. And, you know, case in point, this slide here, Maine State Police running our dash camera, you know, a trooper was shot and killed in his car. The suspect grabbed the car, took it, left the scene. They had no idea who did this. The suspect goes and robs a convenience store, comes out, gets back in the car. Eventually he abandons the car. Well, the administrative staff at the state police goes into the system and initiates what's called a record after the fact. What that does is essentially go back in time, you know, sometimes up to a few days in the instance of an in-car system, and grabs video based on a time window. So that they say, hey, this guy robbed a convenience store between 1 and 1:30 a.m. yesterday. An administrator can go into the system and grab that video. That is exactly what they did here. They released this video to the public and caught this guy, I believe it was the next day, and he was convicted. And so they had no idea, you know, who or how the trooper got killed. Nothing would have triggered this camera, but record after the fact caught it. You know, ultimate flexibility, as Mitch mentioned, is lots of ways to integrate. We can upload over Wi-Fi. We can upload over cellular. We can upload on premise, you know, and we can go right to the cloud. And that's just how we send the video. We can also store video locally or in the cloud, or do a bit of both. So we really make this up to the customer. It's their way, not our way. You know, a small 4-car department may not have the ability to even have a cloud account. He may only be able to have local. You know, we deal with agencies in rural areas that don't have good internet, and they need something local they can store. We have the ability that they can simply buy a piece of hardware with no recurring costs, store their video locally, and they have it. So we'll scale anywhere from, you know, that small department of 4 officers, 4 cars, up to a, you know, several thousand officer department. And we can scale anywhere in between that. Managing the video is done the same way. You know, officers can view their video, you know, from their car if they need to. They're actually watching, you know, a copy of it that's not the real video. It would actually be a copy of the video because they're accessing, you know, via a website. If they're in cloud, we can store video on premise, and it can be managed locally by the department. And all of these are policy dictated. So again, back to that 4-man versus 1,000-man department. Everybody's different. We're gonna scale to the customer and be able to grow up and down, you know, with them as needed. You know, the same flexibility comes with budgets. We can go at, you know, an as a service program, and it sounds like y'all are going to ask about price. Y'all did with some of the other people here, so we assume you're going to do the same, and we can, you know, dive into that here at the end. But video as a service is everything's included. You pay a per device per month fee, and you get a body camera, a dash camera, or both, and you get full warranty, unlimited storage. You know, that's a real all-encompassing way to purchase with little upfront cost. You know, and then there's other departments that say, hey, we have X millions of dollars to spend. We want to deploy 2,000 body cameras, and, you know, we're fine spending the money. They can do that as well. And then in between would be something like a lease purchase. So there really isn't a one-size-fits-all here. we do, try to simplify things. And one way we do that is we're per device, meaning if you have 1,000 officers with 1,000 body cameras, if you choose a licensed, a product that requires licensing, such as our cloud, you're paying by device, not by user. So 1,000 officers means 1,000 devices. But if 1,500 people need to access that video, you're still only paying for the 1,000 devices. We're not going to charge you for people that don't have body cameras to access that. So we really try to keep that simple. The other thing we do is, if a customer says, hey, we want to go cloud, but we're not storing terabytes of data. We will do a pay-as-you-go program, which keeps storage costs extremely low for a department that doesn't need to pay an unlimited price. He just stores a terabyte or two of video a year. That's much more manageable. So very scalable, very, department specific. And then, evidence management. So right now we're, as I mentioned, we're part of Motorola now, and Motorola has their evidence management system and we have ours, and we are taking best in breed in both of those. And I believe it's a 2020 roadmap. We're combining those technologies for one solid, very robust back end. As of right now, if a customer, wanted to use evidencelibrary.com, they could. If they wanted to use Command Central Vault, they could. We work with either, but those will eventually here shortly become one. And one of the best in breed things, technologies within that we have. I'm kind of feel like I'm cheating here because you've asked questions that I anticipate, so I'll answer them without, save you guys from having to answer. Redaction software is built into Vault. We don't have redaction software, so when we combine these, we're gonna put redaction software in it, and it will be included. Other things here, like how we share video. We can share video with anybody with an email address, and there's no cost for that. So, if a policy dictates that a department wants to share video directly with a defense attorney, they can do that with what's called a share. Conversely, if a department has a good working relationship with their DA, they can allow the DA to access their video without having to bring down a copy. You can actually give minimal or limited access to, a CA. So very scalable. Again, either way, it's for us. It's a lot about the customer's way, not our way. And along the same lines, graceful exit. We talk about that here. Our graceful exit policy is you own your video as the customer, the video and the metadata. The metadata would be things like the date and time that's stamped on the video, the officer's name. All of that is metadata that's kept, in the file with the video. All of that belongs to the department. So our customers are our partners, but hey, breakups happen, and when they do, we want to be able to give you your video in a non-proprietary format. Make sure you have it, and can go. We can go our separate ways if that were the case. Another thing we do as a testament to being able to deploy a customer happily is we have a 6-month money back guarantee. If a customer is not happy, we can't make them happy within 6 months, we'll take our stuff back. So, that's how confident we are that, we can work with our customers, partner with them, and deploy as they'd like. And lastly, support tuned for law enforcement. What does that mean? Well, our customers are open 24/7, and so is our call center. So when you call our call center, you get a person at our headquarters answering the phone, and that's 24/7. We also advance replace product, which means if a body camera breaks, it gets run over by a car, whatever happens to the camera, department needs a new one, we're going to ship you out a new camera right away with a return label in a box. The department puts the old camera in the box, returns it, and job done.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Absolutely.
All right. Before I go, colleagues, do you have any questions for Mitch or Tom based on our presentation? I had a couple. So I thought about I guess Video Edge as a service is like a pay as you go. Are there upfront costs though
Minimal, typically like a deployment cost, a setup and a training, and that varies based on the department size.
Okay, and it's not like, I guess you were kind of answering the question on the difference in cost between a smaller department and a larger department based on them getting a service for what they need. But do you guide them based off the number of officers they often have?
Yeah, we would advise them and say, based on your department size, you could buy the cameras outright. We could give you our on-premise software, which has no recurring cost. It's a no-charge software, and they can store their video locally should they choose with no recurring costs. Something like that might be a Vista body camera for $900. The piece of software we give them, which is free, they store it locally and there's no recurring costs. And then obviously we can go all the way up to, fully hosted cloud with, warranties on everything.
So I'm gonna ask the question that the senator has asked throughout each. Does your technology have facial recognition capability?
The cameras do not have facial recognition in them.
So we didn't ask this earlier, but it did make me think about, we talked about this a little bit on our first meeting, that some technology providers are also getting into drones and things of that nature. Do you have any technology like that? Like
Not that I know of. Maybe,
So,
you know whether
yeah, I can handle that one. We can get a little deeper. Our roadmap does have some drone technology in it, where it's actually more of a first response from dispatch, if it makes sense. We're not selling that today, but it's something that our COO office is investigating. We work a lot with agencies throughout the country to understand what their needs are, and that's what drives what we build, whether that's a physical device or a software solution. And some of that drone is. If the dispatch center is 2 miles away from an incident, an automatic drone being dispatched to give situational awareness before anybody can get there may have value. So those are type of things that we think about and that we talk with people about. But we're not selling that today.
Let me ask you, so in the, I know it's not the case here in Maryland, but in the other states where you operate, do you all go department by department, or do some of the states and localities, do they pool together to get a better cost by working together? Let's say, if you have 5 small departments who are similar in their structure and needs, would they put resources together?
Yeah, we've seen it both ways. You're talking about individually going out and meeting whatever people's needs are, where an entire region or even a statewide is a little more difficult because not everybody's going to agree or want to go at the same time. But regional, we've seen a lot of things come through where people pool their resources, their vision, and their purchasing power for economies of scale with different types of solutions.
Okay. All right. Any questions, colleagues? No. All righty. I had some and I just lost it. Well, I appreciate the presentation, fellas. This was very insightful, I guess, for us on how the industry side is set up and how you all work with everyone. I imagine you all also sometimes come up in conversations on labor contracts and the like as departments are trying to figure out what they want to do, just like Body Worn by Utility was saying.
Come again on that one? On labor specifically?
Yeah, yes. Police department, where they're doing their labor negotiations.
I gotcha. Yes, with the unions.
Yes.
Yes. Unions typically need to have the buy-in. Once policy is set, a union and legislators with the police force, and whether it's state or county or a locality, coming up on those policies usually needs to be rubber stamped. I mean, the sheriff can talk to that better than I can. But usually the unions are going to have to be on board before anything will go through.
I remember what I was going to ask. At our last meeting, I didn't know this was the case, but at our last meeting, we talked about how oftentimes the cameras are recording anyway, but it's only when they click to turn on that it starts saving. And that you could go 15 seconds prior or 30 minutes prior. It's up to the choice. Is that how your technology also works?
So we don't do the buffering. We do record after the fact, which is similar. However, a buffering only allows you up to X amount of time, right? And that could be video, that could be audio, both, whether those are triggered or not. With record after the fact, we have more than just a few minutes. It allows a few days. Actually, Tom can speak better than I can to this. So that captures everything we need.
Yeah.
The buffering is not needed.
Yeah, it's almost a two-part system. It would be, we can do a pre-event recording of 30 seconds or a minute, and allow the department to disable record after the fact due to a policy-based issue. So we've had instances where police departments, unions say, we don't want this feature enabled because of X, Y, and Z. Other departments say, no, we want that feature. And so for us, it's literally an administrator checkbox. We let the departments decide. It's not an always on or always off. It's very customizable based on the department. We've had departments more recently who didn't have that feature enabled and decided we want that feature enabled, and sat down with their union and came to an agreement and called us and said, please turn this feature on for us. So it's not a one and done, hard and fast. It's very check a box, reconfigure the cameras once, send them back out in the field, and now that technology is working the way the department wants it. I think that answers your question, right?
Mostly, it seems like you have the option. It's
Correct.
up to the needs of the department on whether they can kind of do the pre or the post. Which, not to lengthen this, I would wonder what would be the circumstances that a department would choose one or the other. But
I think you could do both. It's not one or the other.
Correct.
I was wrong saying we didn't pre-buffer. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, so an example would be a department starts out with just pre-event of 30 seconds, let's say, and they say, okay, we're gonna, officer presses record on the body camera. We go back 30 seconds and we capture video. The reason we go back 30 seconds in most cases is to capture probable cause. And so the department says, well, we want to start with that, but down the road we decide we want the ability to use this record after the fact function that is built within this camera. They then check the box within the software, enable that feature, and from that day going forward, every event will record 30 seconds back. Just the same, we will also have the ability to take this camera and go back in time further. And I can, if you'd like a little better demonstration or example of that, I can explain how that process would work a little deeper if you'd like.
We don't have a lot of time up against 2:30, but it looks like Senator Reedy has a question.
Well, I'd like to get, I think that's an important point to maybe get some more detail about, but I mean, not necessarily this minute, but maybe Tom, if you wanted to send a little write-up or something to explain that process a little bit more, because I do think there's interest, that it's an interesting, it's certainly something to be mindful of. Let's just put it that way.
Absolutely, yeah, we can take it offline and have another conversation. I can send you some information as well.
Yeah, we are tasked with trying to find, in addition to possibly just upgrading our guidelines that we have on body worn cameras, that's housed with the Maryland Police Standards and Training Commission, finding the most cost-effective ways to lower the storage costs so that more of our police departments, particularly our smaller ones, can scale. So these intricacies of what the departments need that may be different from one another is very informative for us, and whatever recommendations we end up coming up with in our goal to reach this aim. Well, unless my colleagues have any other further questions, I think we will be good there. So to Jason and Mitch and Tom and Roscoe, we really appreciate you guys giving us a little bit of insight on how the industry side works. At least I know I was very ignorant to how that side works. For my colleagues, our next meeting will be 2 weeks from now. I believe we're going to have the goal is to have a presentation from the National Council of State Legislatures, who they kind of give us an overhaul of how policy on body-worn cameras is viewed across the country from the various states. Even though he's not here on this call, Hyattsville City Council member Joseph Solomon is going to be connecting us with someone, I think, from the federal government that handles data security to make sure on the security side, whatever recommendations we have are up to par. And we have an academic who will be briefing us named Barry Friedman from, I believe that's where we're trying to rope them in, from NYU School of Law, who's had a career focus on surveillance, but also, some of these issues. And that will be on the 10th, September 10th. Yeah. Senator Sidnor, Senator Reedy, any final remarks before we close up?
I'd just like to echo your thanks to the panel for sharing their experience with the rest of us and answering the questions that we had.
Yeah, it was our pleasure.
Thank you all. Y'all have a blessed one. Really appreciate it.
Thank you all. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.